Coming up on today's show, did Teddy Bridgewater ask for a very lucrative future contract? Should the Broncos keep Vic Fangio? I know I've said I've done replacements for him, but maybe I'm going to stuff my old words in my mouth. And are the Broncos going to be playing south of the border in Mexico? And finally, we'll wrap up the video with talking about the latest roster moves the Broncos made. All that's coming up here on the Broncos Breakdown. I'm your host, Matthew Peterson. Let's start with the Teddy Bridgewater talk because some rumors/reports came out yesterday that he was rumored to have asked for a multi-year deal worth $25 million. Now, that's very far from what he's currently making, which is just over $4 million. Now, if you want to know where $25 million puts you in the company of, that's around the Tom Brady, Derek Carr contract. So Brady kind of notorious for taking lesser contracts. That money can be devoted elsewhere. And then Derek Carr, that's ranked 15th in the NFL. Probably a little bit more than Derek Carr should be paid, but sounds about right. I don't know if Bridgewater and Carr are all that terribly different, right? When Bridgewater's at his best and Carr's not at his worst, but just kind of regular Derek Carr, they're not worlds apart. And this year, Teddy Bridgewater has been not, I think, what Vic Fangio would like to have gotten out of him, just under 3,000 yards, 18 TDs, 7 interceptions. I mean, just good luck getting that big of a contract. That's my big takeaway. Bridgewater, if you're watching, love to see you get paid. Who doesn't like getting paid? But good luck finding a way to, I wouldn't say trick someone into giving you $25 million, but the season you're putting out on tape this year does not resemble $25 million. Bridgewater this year has needed a lot of help to get his team into the win column. I haven't really seen a performance where from start to finish he threw for 350 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, and put the team on his back. But I will mention this though. Next year, the cap will go up. It's going to go up like nearly $40 million compared to what it is right now. So $25 million seems like a lot for this year. Next year, probably not the same sort of feel or impact. So I wouldn't be blown away if a team can go out and get him. But I'm just thinking about teams right now that need a quarterback, and I just don't know if they want to run it with Bridgewater. After the tape he's put out there the last 2 years, he's still kind of riding that high from his 5 starts in New Orleans. It's wearing off. But let me ask this question to you. Would you give Teddy Bridgewater a $25 million contract? I made this the pinned comment. So if you get hit with the YouTube ad break, scroll on down, reply with a Y for yes or N for no. On to the next segment of today's show. Should Denver keep Vic Fangio? I know it's very contradictory of me to say that, but I've seen enough comments in my Vic Fangio replacements to move me a little bit down the aisle of I'll entertain the idea. So that's what we're going to do. So far, Vic Fangio through 2.5 years. He's 19-26 overall as a head coach. However, his defense has stood tall, right? His defense has gone through a ton of injuries, and despite all that, they're one of the better defenses in the NFL. And so it does pose a good potential idea of what if you kept Fangio, trade for Russell Wilson or Aaron Rodgers, and let Fangio run the defense and kind of be like a baseball manager, right? A CEO. Just don't screw it up. Make a good offensive coordinator hire. Get Shermer out of there, and let a smart young mind run it with Wilson and Fangio. You run everything else and let that veteran quarterback take care of the wins. I wouldn't say it was like Gary Kubiak, but it's not like Kubiak is, knocking on doors right now, showing what a great offensive mind he is and still being a very top NFL coach. I understand the departure from Denver was not ideal for circumstances a little bit out of his control, but I'm just kind of wondering maybe that could do it because Fangio is a great defensive mind. He had great success in San Francisco, Carolina, Chicago. In 2021, his defense has been towards the top, second in points per game. I didn't look that up once. I looked it up twice to confirm that. And top 10 elsewhere. And keep in mind, he's lost Alexander Johnson, Josie Jewell, Von Miller, and Bradley Chubb for most of the season. His 4 starting linebackers just gone. Out for the year, injuries, or traded. And still, despite working with some very far depth pieces and making a couple of trades, I mean, who knew Weatherly and Kenny Young would have this much of an impact? Not the Vikings or the Rams, or I doubt they would have moved on from them. So his defense has done well, and that's why maybe I could be talked into it. Maybe I could get around to the idea of, Russell Wilson and a good offensive coordinator take care of that side of the ball and let Fangio run the defense and kind of the special teams. The only issue is if you keep Fangio and you don't get Wilson or Rodgers, you're just kind of going in circles, right? A little bit of above 500, below 500. You're not really making much progress, and I don't know if I trust Fangio with a rookie quarterback. We saw how that worked with Drew Lock, so I just don't know if you want to go down that same path. But I'll pose the question to you. Should the Broncos fire Vic Fangio? I think we, of course, have to wait and see if the Broncos make the playoffs, and if they do they win a playoff game. But we'll ask this as of right now. K for keep or F for fire? Let me know where you stand on good old Vicky. I've gone a little bit back and forth, but I just don't want to run it back. As for the next story on today's show, the Broncos going to be going south of the border. No, they're not going to be moving from one mile-high city to another, actually a higher city in Mexico City. But the NFL yesterday kind of just dropped this bombshell on us. Didn't see it coming whatsoever. They put out this map. We'll put it out on the screen so you guys can see it. And they awarded, I think it was 26 teams or something like that, a handful of countries/markets to have some rights to. And the Broncos ended up in Mexico. It wasn't quite a lottery because the Broncos, I'm not sure if you guys know this, but I kind of learned about it, sort of had an inkling in the back of my mind. They are very big in Mexico, and we'll talk about that in length in just a second. But are you subscribed? Because here's a prime reason why you should be subscribed. A lot of stuff's going on. The Teddy Bridgewater contract. The Broncos, big fans of having a market in Mexico and keeping Vic Fangio. Subscribe, that way I can round up all this stuff for you and condense into a nice one video. You can watch it wherever you want to watch it, get it out of the way for yourself, and that way you can focus on bigger and better things like, I don't know, if the Broncos can find a way to win this Sunday against Cincinnati. So make sure you are subscribed to the channel. Let me do the dirty work for you and get it all to you in one nice video. Also, we got a great deal going on with our sportsbook partner, BetUS. Listen, when you put in that promo code Broncos125 after going to chatsports.com/bet, you get a 125% deposit bonus. And what does that mean? Well, let's say you want to sprinkle some of that money on Denver this weekend. Got the odds for you. Let's check them out here. The Broncos are 3-point favorites. A ton of money has gone on Denver. Back on Monday, the Bengals were favorites. They're like 1.5-point favorites. That's a big swing. A lot of money going on Denver. So maybe follow that trail. Who knows? It could lead you to some lucrative money to put on some holiday shopping or just keep it for yourself. So those are the Week 15 odds. But Broncos, 3-point favorites. But going back to the Mexico subject, Mike Lissi does a great job following the Broncos. He tweeted this out. After Denver, Broncos say largest population of Broncos fans reside in Mexico City. Hand up, would not have been my first guess. Broncos awarded marketing/commercial bid with Mexico and went to play there. Brittany Bolin, that's absolutely a goal. That's what we said in our bid. We want to play in Mexico. Very interesting because I didn't know that Mexico City would be the second biggest city, but it does make a little bit sense just because Mexico City is a huge population. It's one of the biggest in North America. And after Denver, the cities in Colorado, like Colorado Springs, they're just not going to match the population of Mexico City. So you go outside to a different state, and you're going to have different fan bases there. It's going to be a little bit torn. So I can kind of see it, but I want to ask this question to you. Would you want the Broncos to play in Mexico City? They were one of the first teams to go down and play in Mexico, but maybe you want to keep the home games in Denver. I doubt they would sacrifice a home game for a Mexico City game, but then again, I can't imagine they actually, no, they would probably have to. I really doubt if they played like the Jags would agree to play their home game in Mexico. It's not like London. All right, type M for Mexico or P for pass. Let me know what you want to do from one mile-high city to another. Let's wrap up the video by going over the latest roster moves because the NFL right now, and I think a lot of the country, we're not going to dive too much into that aspect of it, is under some extreme COVID circumstances. The Washington football team, the Browns, the Bears are dealing with major COVID crises, honestly. So the Broncos came out yesterday, and I didn't see this coming, made some pretty significant pickups for their practice squad. First, a former All-Pro safety in Clinton-Dix. He comes over and played 2 games this season with Vegas. Early, he played one in like week 3 and one in week 10, I think it was. Only special teams. I think it combined like 13 snaps between those 2 games, so not much of a role player. He missed all of last season, 2020, but he was a former All-Pro, first-round pick for Green Bay, had some good success there. and then just fell off a little bit. And that happens in the NFL, and no one really has a great reason for it, especially when you get to an all-pro status, but haha did. As for the next player, Travis Fulgham, he comes over. He was with the Eagles just a season ago. A bit of a surprising cut back in August for Philadelphia, but they drafted Devontae Smith. They get Jalen Reagor back, so I think they wanted to switch it up, and maybe he was just a little out of shape during training camp. So I think this move right here has some inklings of, is Denver preparing for the worst, right? Are they trying to get ahead of something going, hey, we're seeing a bunch of NFL teams go down with major COVID issues. There's some talent still on the street. Let's bring him into the practice squad. That way, let's be some Boy Scouts, right? Be prepared. If Judy, Sutton, Patrick goes down, or K-Jack or Simmons gets COVID and gets placed on the list, we can at least elevate someone from our practice squad that's got tons of NFL experience. But grade these moves for me. Where would you put them? A, B, C, D, or F? They're kind of smaller moves. They're practice squad, but still I'll ask the question. I would give it a B+. Only reason I'm not giving it an A is if it's December and these guys aren't on someone's roster, good reason why. NFL teams don't like talent just sitting on the street, so maybe they're a little bit out of shape. Maybe they got to run a couple miles. I'll join them for it. But let me know what you think down below.